Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, now, thank you for tuning into the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by mybookie.ag. I'm your host, Tate, and we got a lot to talk about. It is finally here, the start of the NFL season, and tomorrow starts the first game. It's kind of weird having the first game of the year, start on a Thursday. I don't know why. I'm just not a big fan of Thursday night games. I wish that they would go back to Sundays and Mondays. I'm just not into them, even the first game of the year, but I will be watching. The first game of the year is New England versus Kansas City. You have Brady versus not Aaron Rodgers, but Alex Smith. Not really the Brady Peyton Manning rivalry, but you say it. A lot of people would think no, like Alex Smith versus Tom Brady isn't really a rivalry. But if you go back and look, Kansas City is the one team, other than the Giants in the Super Bowl, the one team that gives the Patriots a fit. I mean, they really do. That's why this game is going to be so intriguing. For some reason, Kansas City and Andy Reid knows how to control Gronk, control Brady, and negate all the things that Bill Belichick does so well. A lot of people are looking at the Patriots and they're saying this could be another undefeated regular season run, or this could be the team that actually goes undefeated, wins and all the way through the playoffs and go undefeated. The one thing I'll tell you though is that could be true because it's a loaded team, but they have to get past Kansas City. Kansas City is a legitimate playoff contender. Kansas City is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. In my opinion, they could be the team that's the biggest threat to the New England Patriots for their conquest of the AFC. I really do look at them as the toughest out for New England. So I'm really excited about this game because I really want to see how things go. Kind of how it breaks down, how they're going to handle, how the Patriots going to handle not having Julian Edelman. Is Danny Amendola going to be the new insert in here? I'm also very curious about how, if Kansas City, the thing with Kansas City that makes them so strong is the running game. In order for them to win, they're going to have to run the ball. And they're going to have to run the ball a lot, often, and effective. And this is Hunt out of Toledo. It's going to be his first game, and he's going to have to carry the load against New England. That's a tall order. Especially coming from a place where he's been playing at Toledo, a very small market, to now he's in the NFL and he's his first game. He's going to New England. He's looking at Gronk and Brady and that defense, and he has to carry the ball a lot. This will definitely tell you if he has what it takes to be a successful running back. But one of the things when I look at Kansas City, the one thing that they do well, it doesn't matter who it is. They get behind that offensive line and the Andy Reid running scheme, and they always do well. And I think Hunt's going to do well this week as well. Now, prediction-wise, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it is anybody's game. I'm not sure who's going to win. I'm leaning toward the Patriots at winning this one. But would I be shocked if Kansas City won? No, I wouldn't, because I think they have New England's number. And every year, every time they play, it's like Andy Reid knows how to beat Bill Belichick. And I think this could be, I wouldn't be shocked if it happened again. So that's my take on the first game. Later on this week, we'll be talking about other games, but not at this episode. We're gonna switch up a little bit when we come back. We're gonna take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit about Ezekiel Elliot and what's going on in that crazy situation there. Stay tuned, and we'll be back. Ever since I started hosting this podcast, people have come to me for advice. Hey, who are you taking this week in the big game? Are you taking the Patriots or the Steelers? Or Chicago or Detroit? Or who do you have in the big fight? Well, let me tell you this. Before I tell them who I have in the game this week or the fight this weekend, I tell them that it's just as important as where you're betting as who you're betting on. And I always use mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag has been around for years. They got a solid reputation. And the most important thing is they pay you out fast. There's nothing worse than winning a big, betting on making the right decision, picking the right team to win, and then you have to jump through all these hoops and hurdles to get paid. You don't have these issues with mybookie.ag. Their payouts is as fast as within 2 days. And that's what I like best about them is I can place my bet, get my win, and collect my money. They have in-game, live betting, and some of the most rewarding perks in the business. They also have an all-new mobile site that makes wagering on the go a breeze. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with a 100% bonus. Just use promo code GSMC football to activate this offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, we're back, and the long wait is over on Ezekiel Elliott's appeal. Harold Henderson decided to keep the 6-game suspension of Ezekiel Elliott, and now the real game begins. Crazy situation about this is they said that they did not get the decision in time, so Ezekiel Elliott is going to play the first game of the season. That was a shocker, but I wasn't surprised that they held up this decision. This is the big problem with the way the NFL has this set up. So the appeal process is more about, did Roger Goodell do something and make a mistake? Oh, no, he didn't. Okay, whatever he said goes. It's not a real appeal process. It's a dog and pony show. Roger Goodell makes a decision, and you don't get it reduced, or they give you a token reduction. But in this case, once again, you have a situation where the police investigated this and said the witness is the complaint against Ezekiel Elliott isn't, there's not enough merit to it. The person that's making the accusation is not credible. The NFL investigator who investigated this said the person is not credible. I do not recommend that you would suspend Ezekiel Elliott. Roger Goodell looked at their information, looked at their own NFL investigator and said, 6 games. That's wrong. They're judge, jury, and executioner, and it's a bad look for the NFL. It just makes the NFL look bad. When you look at Deflategate, originally Tom Brady looked bad, New England looked bad, and it was like, okay, here's another Spygate. But after a while, it's just like it changes, and you're looking around and you're saying, man, this is just wrong. What the NFL is doing, and Brady becomes a martyr. The same with Ezekiel Elliott. The way people look at Ezekiel Elliott, I'm already starting to see people are just saying, like, you know what, this is crazy. It shouldn't be this way. It's no longer about the issue of did he or didn't he. It's about what the heck is going on with the NFL and how it just makes Roger Goodell and the NFL look bad. Now, this Ezekiel Elliott had already, before the ruling came in, had filed with the courts a restraining order asking that the judge puts a hold on any decision that Gerald Henderson comes down with that deals with him being suspended, in which they are deciding this. I'm telling you this, mark my words, I think it's going to go like another Brady situation. If the judge grants Ezekiel Elliott the restraining order, he is playing the entire 2017 season. It will not be till next year. Now, with that being said, he will have to serve the 6-game suspension, but it won't be this year. It's going to be next year. As crazy as that may sound, over a year investigation, it's going to be a year investigation before the NFL could come down with a decision. Then it's going to be a whole NFL season before Ezekiel Elliott actually serves even one game of the suspension. And by the time it's all said, it's going to be almost like 2 years. There has to be a better way. It needs to be, one, I don't think the NFL should be in the business of trying people outside of the courts. If the courts say you're not guilty, then you are not guilty, and the NFL should not get involved. It's kind of like if you were working at your job and you got arrested for something. Courts say, "Oh, we're sorry, that was a mistake. You are truly not guilty. But you go to your job and they're saying, nope, sorry, you're suspended for 2 weeks. You can't go to work. But I didn't do anything wrong. Sorry, you're suspended for 2 weeks. It makes no sense. They need to have an independent group that investigates it in a fast manner. And then there needs to be another group that brings down the decision and another group that does the appeal. And they all need to be independent of the players' union. They need to be independent of the NFL. And then no one has anything to say about this. That's my take on what I think is going on with Ezekiel Elliot. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is Colin Kaepernick. And I know everyone is sick of hearing about Kaepernick. But an interesting story came out with Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was being interviewed, and he told a story about how the Ravens had brought him in, and they were working with him. With the president was working with him, and they wanted to have Kaepernick come in. They wanted to meet with the president, meet with the Ravens, make sure that Kaepernick wanted to play. That's what his priority was, and then they were going to sign him. And then a little thing happened. They look on her social media, and his wife, girlfriend, I'm not sure if he's married. I think his wife. I'm not sure on the relationship. Is his wife or girlfriend? No, it was his wife. Had made a post about the president of the Ravens as a slave master and Ray Lewis as the house slave. Now, the same Ray Lewis who was trying to get him in to be hired by the Ravens, and the same general manager, the only general manager that's actually considering bringing in Colin Kaepernick, and she's going to call him the owner a slave, and Ray Lewis the house slave. Take it from me. I'm a business owner. And so I do more than just this podcast. But if I had someone coming aboard, and let's say they were top of the line, like the best, best in the business. If I went to their social media page and I saw that their wife had put me in as the slave master, and my manager or the employee is trying to get the guy hired as a house slave, I would never hire him, ever. And just, I don't know, most of you know this, but I'm an African American male, and so it comes with a different perspective on things. But when you're out of line, you're out of line. There's been so many things about Kaepernick that has been out of line that I just don't like. I approve of the protests. That's part of being an American. It's freedom of speech. It's not a slap against the troops. It's trying to bring eyes and attention to something that is going on in this country that needs to be addressed. I didn't have a problem with the protests. But I did have a problem with the fact that he didn't vote. Then, I did have a problem with, not a smart decision to get the 49ers to agree to void your contract. You would already be in the league, but you voided out your contract. Not a smart decision. Your wife making attacks against the only people in the NFL that want to bring you aboard. Not a smart decision. And so when you start looking at these decisions that he's making, it makes you wonder, where is his head at? If I bring him in, Is his head really on being an NFL player? Or is his head somewhere else? I respect the whole concept of wanting to bring attention to a cause. And that should not. People are kneeling during games all over the country. That's not the issue. It's some of his decisions that he makes that make you scratch your head and wonder, is this the guy that is he looking for more attention, or the people around him, or is he making smart decisions? He doesn't bring enough to the table for me to be worried about bringing somebody else, bringing a guy in like that. I'm now at after hearing the Ray Lewis story, I am at the point where it's like, no, if I was an NFL owner, I wouldn't bring him in. Even if I had a situation where I lost my starting quarterback, I still would not bring him in. That's my take. That concludes this week's episode of the GSMC Football Podcast. This is just a short episode because we wanted to talk about that New England Kansas City game. Our next episode, we'll dive in a little bit more and a lot more detail about this upcoming week 1 games. And with that, to all, a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.